I can, I can make myself out to be anything I want to be while filling out a questionnaire. And I think most people can and have the knowledge on how to do that. And they will fill out a questionnaire which will benefit them the most in actually getting the job. I think when you're building a team, you actually need to know the people that you're building the team with. So, I think a lot of spaces are very generic when it comes to the hiring and firing process. But did anybody actually take the time to get to know who they're hiring, why they're hiring them, or what skill sets they have? What skill sets they have that they might have that has nothing to do with the job? I think it's about knowing people. So for me, in our space, which is actually a relationship-based space, it's a network, it's full of people, but it's a network based on building real relationships. Building a team becomes rather easy because we happen to know the people we're building the team with. Does that mean that the teams work 100% all of the time straight off the bat? No. But can we fix that? Yes. And is it only my responsibility? No. Because all the people in the team, it's not only for me to know them, it's for them to know each other, which is very important. You build a team where people don't know each other, they don't care for each other. They just want to do their bit and get out. You create a team where the people in the team actually want to support each other. They actually go above and beyond for each other, which I think is really important. And if you can't manage a space like that, then go back to the drawing board and start again and maybe learn that there is a different way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. I think Carolyn should actually be here. So for those of you that don't know, Carolyn Zietzler, something like that, she's one of our new members. And she's a leadership coach that's going to bike through Africa. All of our coaches and people have like they're a little bit different, which is amazing. But she's actually going to, she said she's going to gift us with one of her courses that teaches you how to pull together a blueprint of your culture. Like it's a set of activities that you go through with your team. And then you basically define the culture together, put the values out there, and then it's supposed to make for a very strong, cohesive team. So I feel like that's going to be a very cool exercise to go through.
I reckon it will be an exercise to go through. The team will enjoy that.
Yeah, I think it's something enjoyable to go through. But I think that's also what teams are about. It's something that you taught me, Peter. Like I still am one of those people. If people at the office are like, let's have a team sports day or a day off where we do no work and we have like stupid office competitions, I'm the first one to say I would rather like do my work twice. Why would we do that? That sounds like a horrible idea. Do you not have enough work? Is that why you're coming up with things like this?
But then again, the experience of arriving in Johannesburg, being picked up at the airport by not only members of one of our teams, but actually members of our space and members of one of our teams, and experiencing getting into the car and being driven to Hendrik to where you stay, it was absolutely stunning.
So cool.
It was incredible. To arrive to a balcony full of
friends,
team members and members of the space, and
I feel like that's different.
But it doesn't have to be.
Those are friends.
But it doesn't have to be different.
Maybe that's like my problem. I'm like, how are team members friends? Team members are competition. Lessetja,
no, they're not.
What do you have to say about this whole story?
Now I'm listening to Pirana and I'm losing my line of thought now, because now I'm reminiscing on what we had at Hendrik's place, which was absolutely stunning. And I'm going to implore Hendrik, we need to do it again. And this time, Megan is coming. Anyway, I think building a team, will depend on how big a team you want to have. Let's look into corporate, where they employ 600-700 people. Do they have time to build a friendship with each and every one of them? They don't. And they actually employ an agency to do that for them. And the agency is their eyes and everything for them. And the agency will say to them, these are the best candidates we've got for you. So those guys do not have time whatsoever. I worked for corporates for 20 odd years, and there were times where you would spend 5 years without meeting your CEO, or your CEO will not know you, So it's very difficult to build a team there. But when we come to our businesses, and I don't want to say small businesses because they're not small, they impact the world. Where you have to build a team with 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 members, you have time to engage with each and every one of them, and you are able to suss out, is this one going to be a team player? Is this one here just to please me and not to be a team member? Is this one going to be like an Nestene who just wants to do work? And when we say, let's have Pizza Friday, and she will say, no. But Pizza Friday will be Nestene. And we've done a lot of events where you got to know your managers, and your managers got to know you. And I think that's very important for team building. Let them know each other. You as an employer, you get to know them as well. So it just helps you to build a team. And if you've got to fire somebody, you'll know who is the first one to fire, if I've got to fire somebody. But for me to build a team, one will depend on the number. If you want to build a close-knit team, it will depend on the number of people or employees that you want to have within the tribe. Not that you're employing us, but within a tribe, it's easy to form friendships and relationships because we are open with each other. But when you get to an office where you find other people there and you've got to join the team, you don't know anything about them. So how do you as an employer get to fuse the people together so that they get to know each other and then build a team with trust, with integrity, and with hard work? So I think that'll help. I mean, where I am now, there's a team of 5 people, and for the past 6 years, I've been saying, let's go out when we have a meeting. Let's just go out and chill. Have a meeting outside of the offices, because then maybe we get a brainwave. 5, 6 years later, it hasn't happened. Now, how does it make me with other team members? Because we just get to the office and we do what we do and we leave. We never get to engage. So I would suggest and encourage that, depending on the team members number, let's go out there, get to know each other. Let's go out there, just have fun. Nothing formal. If we've got to teach Peter to play rugby, we'll do that. Or teach Megan to play netball. I know you played netball before. We do that, but let it be a fun event. I think we once went for, what do they call this thing where they throw a heavy ball into 10-pin bowling? I didn't know anything about 10-pin bowling, but because it was fun for a team, it was awesome. When we left there, we were laughing at each other. saying, yeah, I did this and I did this, but we formed friendship, which I think is lovely. Thank you. This is Lesetsja Mokou, your business development agent.
Thank you, Lesetja.
I actually like that, and I think maybe in corporate spaces where there are things like larger teams, there are things that managers can put in place that won't quite be the same as building like relationships and really getting to know each other. But there are certain small policies that one can put in place, and a certain kind of character can actually facilitate that. So I think a good manager would put things in place like an open door policy. Hey, if you need to talk, I'm here.
That sounds terrible.
I know, but it really works. And I think when somebody that is employed in a space and they've got a particular job and they maybe have a frustration, if they don't feel like they can actually voice that frustration, or if they don't feel like they can, then they definitely don't feel like they're a part of what is going on. And when you've got a whole bunch of people that are supposed to be a team, but nobody feels like they're a part of it, that's a problem. So even small policies that you put in place, maybe even create a space where, and I know some managers rule from a very militant perspective. I'm in charge, you're the workers, you do the work, I oversee everything. But that's very lonely. I think creating a space where people have a voice, whether it be a suggestion box, like, hey, if you have a suggestion as to how we can change something to be more productive, then let's put those suggestions forward. And then somebody even just having the box there, somebody will feel like, well, my voice is actually, it's respected, and my opinion is respected. So there are tiny little things that one can do in a corporate space that is not the same as relationship building, but it creates an environment or this culture of, even though I am in the smallest in this space, I have a voice just like everybody else, which means I am a part of what is going on. So there are small things that you can put in place: suggestion box, an open door policy. I've walked out of a job where I wanted to have a voice, and I took the opportunity to voice my opinion, and the response was, "Who do you think you are?" And I was like, "Well, no one anymore, because I quit. I'm out of here. Not taking that nonsense."
That's interesting, though, Peter. Like, you're making me think maybe, because my very next comment was going to be like, traditionally, I'm someone that struggles to fit into any team.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be left alone.
She is the team.
But I'm thinking maybe it was not me. Maybe it was that the culture wasn't there, because I fit into Explore ProTech like it's nobody's business, because you basically built it around me.
Pretty much. I was like, stand still and building.
And the people that I work with in this tribe, like, it is just so freaking easy to work with you guys. I mean, yes, we go through our miscommunications, and every now and again there's a hiccup and people do what people do, but it is still so much easier than by hiring in cold and then trying to work with that actual person. Like, literally, I think by Friday, I had such a crisis day. It was just, you guys know how entrepreneurship goes. You have like periods where absolutely nothing happens, and then all of a sudden the world falls on you. So the world fell on me on Friday. And I was supposed to show Somerville how to do something, because I was like, you just have to help me with this. And, by now I've been through all the leadership training and the things, and I've read how to delegate, and you have to be very specific, and, there has to be a time and a project and scope and the responsibility, and you do this, and if that doesn't happen, I know all of that. Literally, I showed up on Friday and I was like, Somerville, here's the thing. I tried to show her how the software works, burst out in tears, and stopped. That was it.
That was it.
That was the sum of my delegation skills for that Friday. And she was like, you know what, it's going to take me an hour, but I'm going to figure it out, and I will make this happen. And she made it happen. I mean, where do you get that? I've never experienced that in another team. So I think, just like kudos to you, Peter, like the culture that you've created in this space is conducive to really good teamwork.
Well, it's not only kudos to me. It takes a very particular type of person that can function within a particular culture. And if you get to decide what the culture is and you find those people, then it's kudos to all those people, because some of them work in similar spaces, so they should see each other as competition, but they're actually using each other to scale. Some of the people in this space would never ever have really met, but their character and their own culture allows them to fit into the space. And even from day one, when we decided what is our culture going to be, what will we accept, what will we not accept, what do we want our values to be in this space, and as we were meeting people that lined up with those values, they naturally became part of the culture. So I may have decided what I want the culture to be and what the values are, but the entire community decides the culture because they operate in it, they function in it. So without the people, there is no culture. And I think that's a lot of what corporate space is missing. They don't have culture, and they don't have a value system. You can be as conniving and backstabbing and, did you get this done for me? Yes, I got it done. Did you really do it? No, not really. Are you going to look like an idiot in a meeting because I didn't do what I was supposed to do? Probably. Whereas if you have a culture and a value system that everybody buys into and everybody feels part of, then nobody's there to make me look bad, because me looking good is good for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, even with the conversation that me and Megan had this morning. So Megan's on my team. She's a fantastic person to have on any team, by the way. She just, like, writes whatever you need. So she's helping me write a course. And I mean, like, this morning we had a conversation which was basically like, I'm changing the entire brief, Megan. You're now writing a different course. Like, in essence, that's like, it didn't feel like we were having that conversation, but that is the conversation we had. And I mean, in any other team, I think that could have been a very, very difficult conversation to have.
Actually, I remember you coming to me going and asking, how do I have this conversation? And then I responded by saying, this is how Megan's going to respond. Because me and Nestene talk like this all the time. And then when you guys jumped into the meeting and started having the conversation, Megan, word for word, literally repeated what I said to Nestene. I said, Megan will ask you, where can I help you the most? Where can I fit in the best? And what can I do that will make the most impact, like right now? I'll do where you need me to fit. And that's the conversation I had with Nestene. And then when they had their conversation, I was lounging on the couch in the background, all playboyish. But almost word for word, it was the exact conversation. And I think you can more or less dictate what's going to happen in a space based on the culture that it functions in.
I think that was just very, very cool. Like, in any other team, I think that would have been, for me at least, a very, very difficult
conversation
to have. And I feel like me and Megan are actually now, we're on the same page. It hasn't hurt our relationship. It hasn't hurt the project. We're actually moving forward together faster now. It's just really cool. I really like it. This is a cool space. You make teamwork effortless.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
And Mo has her own culture. Like, completely.
Lesetja, you've been having your hand up.
Yes, I'm coming back into the conversation. I wanted to respond to Peter's open door policy and the suggestion box thing. And my advice to us is, if you say to your people, you've got an open door policy, let it be an open door. Don't let it be an open door policy where when a person comes in, they are met with this cold environment like it is in Cape Town now. Let it be warm. Let it be welcoming. We know you could be busy, but when somebody comes in, let them feel that they are welcome to share whatever they want to share. And when they are sharing that, listen. Because if you don't listen and you want to cut them short, either because you know better or because you want to finish your work, then that's not an open door policy. And when you put a suggestion box, go to the box, take out the piece of paper that's in there, read with understanding, read with concentration, and focus on, even if it's anonymous, just focus on the message that's there and not personalize the message to you. Because the people that are putting in the suggestions are putting them in for the benefit of the company, for the benefit of the whole culture, as you said. But if you are just going to read like, yeah, I've got a suggestion box, people write in, and nothing happens to those papers. The next time you say, guys, can we have suggestions about this? You'll find zip in the suggestion box. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I like that, Lesetja. Something else I might want to add to that is that if you have a suggestion box or if you have an open door policy, make it very clear that whatever is said during that point in time, nobody can be held liable for what is said because it's a suggestion. It's an open door policy. So if people feel safe, like if somebody goes, oh, I can't make a suggestion because if I make a suggestion, then I might get fired. Or if I make so having a suggestion box would be like, well, what's the point of a suggestion box if nobody really feels like they can actually make one? And an open door policy, if somebody's got a concern and they come to you and they say something that is a concern to them, they can't feel like they're at risk of, well, now I've put my position in jeopardy because so it should not only be open door, it should be safe. Now, if you don't have a safe space, but you have a suggestion box, ain't nobody going to make a suggestion. Mm-hmm. So it has to be a safe space. People around you need to feel safe. Megan, I see your hand is up. Let's bring you into the conversation.
Thanks, Peter. Yes, I jotted down a couple of things here during the course of everybody's conversation this far. And again, the communication came up. I absolutely agree with that, because I think if everybody knows which direction the team is meant to be moving and they know which role they play, it just makes for a much more synergized space. So having that communication in place, and like you just mentioned, Lesetja just mentioned, being able to make it a two-way conversation, and a conversation that, goes somewhere and not only is had and then everything stops right there. You guys mentioned a bit earlier about being human. Bring out your human side. People relate to people. So if you are the manager, you are the CEO, whatever the case might be, there are times that you need to be supported as much as your team always does. So being able to show that side to yourself, of yourself, just means that people in your team will relate to you that much better in the times that you need the support that you need. And knowing people, getting to know people on a deeper level, whether it's through some social contact or just identifying their strengths and really placing them in a strategic way where they shine so that the team is actually strengthened through that. I think that's very important. And then in this day and age that we are now, digital era, let's not forget that teams do not have to be a permanent force member of your team, right? We've got VAs, we've got freelancers, we've got all of these people that step into your space. And I just saw a really fantastic post on LinkedIn about a week ago, where someone that I follow actually took her entire group of VAs, freelance workers, everybody else that was extra to her standard team, her permanent force. She took them all on an upskilling course, the entire lot. She invited them along and included them in her permanent force team on this upskilling program. So I think doing things like that will really go a long way to building a strong team, and ultimately giving and receiving the support that we all need. It goes two ways. Thank you. And I'm Megan from Paradox Rocks Communications. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. And if anyone else on the call has anything to say, please feel free to put your hand up because I've recorded 16 videos today.
Her speech is limited. Her speech is limited for the rest of the day, which is great.
But wow! But I have to tell you guys, like, I have something else to say on the hiring and firing and building a strong team. Why not just not hire and fire? I mean, in this kind of community environment, we've tested so many different people. I can tell you, like, exactly how Megan writes, how she's going to react if she needs to write a course for me, what types of blog posts she likes to write. Like, I can tell you exactly what process Indra goes through when he creates a podcast, like what he's really good at, which is like the brainstorming side and the creative stuff and the extra frills and whistles.
And the magic.
We haven't hired or fired Megan or Hendrik or like many other people, or Somerville for that case.
Our VA has arrived.
But these people are just incredible, and they're like it's like a dynamic team. It's kind of like, I see it like in a corporate environment. Traditionally, you would have these teams on the organogram and they would be mapped static. In our space, it's kind of like you have a bubble. You have different bubbles in the space, which represents the different entities. So you have a Bed Media bubble, you have a Paradox bubble, you have a Somerville Virtual Agency bubble, and people kind of move in and out of the bubbles in teams, like as and where they are needed. And it makes for such a creative, like, obviously, you know, if you're scaling like very, very fast, it can be a challenge to make sure all your team members are in the specific bubble you need them to be in when you need them to be there. That is definitely a challenge. But I think just in terms of the creativity and the flow and the no one feels owned or controlled or...
Yeah. Well,
but everyone kind of works together. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I'm studying this. I'm going to research it because to me it looks like an organization of the future. Like, I'm certain I can like write some kind of useless research proposal around this.
Basically, we have, by building a networking group where the value of the group is based on the people that are in it. And all the people having different skill sets and building relationships in a space, which makes it real networking. Not come market your product networking, but real people meeting real people networking. Completely 2 different spaces. And because of the relationships that have been built, the ability or the authority that it gives us in the background to go, we would like to do this project. And we start, and then maybe we need to pivot slightly, and the skills will change. I mean, maybe we need to add somebody with a different skill set to see something through because of the people in the space and how well they know each other. I mean, we could go, we need somebody to do this, and everybody be like, that's Rona, that's Rona, that's Rona. We definitely need Rona. Why? Because everybody knows Rona. Or maybe it's a different style of writing that's required, and it's like, no, that's not a Rona's Ali. That's Megan Deers. This is way more technical. This needs to be understood from this particular perspective, and we need to see this through at this level. That's a Megan Deers. So it creates a space where you can push and pull. But the nice thing about it is that it's not only me and Nestene as the CEOs of Explore ProTech that have access to all the different skill sets and all the different people to build the different teams. It's all the people in this space have access to each other, which means that we all do well based on the relationships that we build. And I've seen it time and time again where people come into this space and they're like, I'm going to rely on everybody else to build relationships, and I'm going to take advantage of the space, and they get 0. They get nothing, absolutely nothing. I had a meeting with somebody the other day that wants to send his assistant to test out our space to see if it'll work for him. I'm like, no, you're going to send yourself. And then we will see if we can build a relationship with you. And if you're not coming, don't bother. And I think it's just different concepts as to how spaces work. An example of that would be our YouTube space. Yes, we are the CEOs of Explore ProTech. Does everything have to be about me and Nestene? No, it does not. Because we get our benefit from the relationships that are being built. So our YouTube space is changing. Within the next 2 weeks, I think we've got, within the next week and a half, we have hosts that are members of our space that are taking over this particular show. Do we have to host it? Do we have to? No, we do not. Somerville's here. Somerville is jumping in as a host on one of the segments for the Ekpas show with Janine Blingenfelder. That's going to be absolutely incredible. So this space is changing. And can we change it? Yes. Can we change it again? Yes. We can do that. We have the right people.
Yeah. I love you guys so much. Let's put Mo up. Mo, you've had your, you're playing with us because you're like, I'm in, nope, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. Put your left
I'm like
hand.
basically doing choreography right now. I'm just like doing like virtual choreography, just like in, out, hand up, lower hand, like put your hand in the air, everybody waiting like they don't care. So I kind of got in the middle of the conversation, so I wasn't exactly sure what the convo is about exactly. But I think I got the gist of it. So I'm going to comment based on what everyone has been sharing. So firstly, I'm going to say something that is contrary to popular opinion. I don't actually believe in this whole ideology of open door policy. I'm not for it. I'm like, sometimes you need a closed door. In a closed window, and you just need to like be like I'm in the zone. So, but that's just me. Like I'm not like, for me, I don't really like this whole open door policy thing. And from experience, I know that it's one of those buzzwords like the new normal or diversity and inclusions hashtag DNI. It's one of those buzzwords that people throw around to be like, I'm a really great manager and I take care of my people. But you don't really though, do you? And I think Lesetja came to it very well when he was talking about like, you can't say this and then act a different way because your communication is incongruent. If you're going to be an asshole, just be an asshole. And then we can work with that, right?
Yeah.
Then we know what you are, we can work with that. And we know what to expect. We know how to present ourselves to you when we come to you. If you're going to be a nice person, be a nice manager and a nice person. And then we know how to deal with that. The incongruency of communication is actually where the misalignment of communication actually comes through, right? So for me, I don't really like that term because nobody ever really lives up to it. To be completely brutally honest with you guys. And the other thing I'll say is that if you need to say words like this, so words like open and safe space, open door policy, we have a culture of communication and transparency. If you need to say it, you don't really actually have it, because there are certain things in life that don't need to be said, they need to be felt. So if you need to say them a lot and need to have them printed around the entire office block, then I'm questioning whether or not that really is the case. Because there's some things in life like I love you. Nobody can quantify I love you or tell you what I love you means to you and means to me when I say to you and what it means to you when I say to you. But there's a feeling there. There's an attachment there, right? But nobody can tell you what it is in terms of the science and the art of the life and living, right? And so I think things like that we're talking about are very much akin to the I love you words, right? And so in most corporations or in most institutions where I've been like, good Lord, you like are telling everybody how much you love them. Like it's painted everywhere, even the shirts they're wearing, it's on their uniforms even. Good Lord, like they're like more often than not the most miserable people you meet in terms of their work environment, right? So that's the first thing that I'll say, is that focus more, I would say, focus more on having it be a feeling and an experience versus be it a hashtag on Twitter, a picture on Instagram, or a thing we write on our shirts, on our logos. and what we plaster all over the office space. More often than not, by the way, employees rather have you spend the money on them than making the office look colorful. By the way, I'm just saying. And so then the other thing is that and that's another reason why I don't believe in suggestion boxes. So that leads me to the next point. I'm not a big fan of suggestion boxes because I believe in the power of voice, right? So if you really have the environment that you are speaking of in a written language and in ethos, people should actually feel comfortable enough to say, "Dude, I didn't like the way this thing happened," or "Hey man, like what about, Pride Month? Are we not going to celebrate Pride Month? It's International Pride Month and I'm of this orientation," to their managers. Or what about Women's Month? Are we not going to, or what about Yom Kippur? Are we not going to, honor the Jewish community in the company, or, the Islam community in the company? That shouldn't necessarily be written in a suggestion box. You know what I mean? Like, Like, it shouldn't be like, I'm going to write it anonymously to be like, can we please have some time to pray during, the time that we are praying as people of this particular religious orientation. It shouldn't, like, you should be able to be like, can we please, I'm of this orientation, with all due respect, yes, I will do my job, I will deliver on what I'm delivering. I'm not going to slack on work, which, by the way, is a common misconception. I'm not slacking work. I'm going to be praying, I'm fasting, I need to break my fast at this time, whatever. Which is why I'm not a big fan of suggestion boxes, because they hide the reality of the situation, which is that people cannot speak their truth as their person. They need to write it anonymously. And so, yeah. Oh, yes. And the last thing I wanted to say, I just wrote it here in very scribbled words. Oh, chicken scrabble. You guys can't see it, and thank God for virtual reality, which is what this is. You guys can't see my chicken scrabble, but I think it was something that Peter was saying at the beginning about culture and people and the culture we have built here, the culture that you guys have cultivated here, the people you've allowed into this space and place. That's like right there, right? That is the goal. That's the most important thing, right? Because there's all kinds of cultures in the world, all kinds of people there's like billions of us in the world with billions of kinds of beliefs. Even if you're in the same belief, then there's like another plethora of different sectors of beliefs within the same belief, or different kinds of languages within the same language, right? So like there's all kinds of people believing all kinds of things, And I'm 100% believer in that when you're trying to build a culture, you have to be set on that culture, understand what it is. You must understand what it is before we can. Understand what it is, very steadfast in it, and then only bring people in who fit that culture. Right? And it's not to say that anybody who doesn't fit it is bad or ruined or what. It's just to say that no, this is like these 5 meters here are where we're at, or the 5 centimeters, or whatever your space is. This is where we're at. If you're not in that range, it's fine. You'll find your tribe. Like the world is large, fam. You'll find your people. You'll find the people who want to do business the way you want to do business. We're not those people, and it's fine, And I think I'll commend you guys for being steadfast in building that. That's very hard to do. But I always say that's the most important thing to do, not only in the context of business and building a relationship, but also in an individual personal capacity. I think everybody on this call can agree to, you have your own values and principles that guide you, whether it is business, professional, personal, or romantic. They guide you and you stand by them, right? And if people don't meet and you are flexible, it's not that we are saying we're not like it's that. We're just saying that it's flexible, but this is where it's at. If you're not within that, it's fine. I ain't gonna, try and like stab you in the face or none. I'm gonna move on. You gonna move on. We're gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine, And I think that for me, when you said that, that really struck a chord with me, because I'm in that space also in my life where I'm really like being like, well, you're falling out of the parameters, fam. You're falling out of the parameters. You're really close to the boundary now. And but I think that's very important, because to Peter's point, it feeds into everything else. And it literally feeds into everything else, because if we're not aligned in terms of who we are, what our values and principles are, how we approach life, how we deal with life and everything, how we do everything, if we're not aligned on that portion right there, everything else is irrelevant in such a way, right? Because then everything else will fall off kilter. At some point we will fall off kilter because we're not aligned on that portion. And so when we talk about culture and whatnot, I will say the reason, I think somebody said was throwing shade to corporate, and I think it was you, Peter, was throwing shade on corporate. Like, we know corporates don't have what and culture and this. I'm like, they really actually do. Like, I don't know if you know corporates. Oh my God, you've never met somebody who believes in their culture like people in corporate. I'm gonna say that out loud. You never met somebody who believes in culture like guys in corporate. Like, this is our culture, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna tell you the sky is not green. You clearly believe the world is flat, so I'm gonna let you not swim to the edges of it. But the point I'm making is that when you find those kinds of people, you also realize that this is the thing. That's the space right there, right? That's the parameters right there, and that when we're not staying true to those values and truths for ourselves, you end up letting people in or things in that end up getting you lost in that entire, vision and everything. So that's a long-winded way for a poet to say that you guys are doing it the right way. It's not easy, but you guys are doing it the right way. You can't just let anyone in. You can't just let anyone in. I'll leave it at that.
And who are you?
Yes, Mo, who are you?
Hey guys, my name is Mo Malele. It also sounded so cheeky. For a second there, I was like, who are you? Like, what I was about to, that's why I went silent there, because I was like, who that? No, hi guys, my name is Mo Malele. I am a full-time entrepreneur in marketing and e-commerce, but my love and joy is to do poetry, spoken word, and writing artwork showcase.
Awesome.
It's so good to see you here, Mo.
Yeah, Mo, something that you said, which actually makes my life a lot easier. When there is a strong culture in a space, instead of having a space with no culture and a lot of rules, focus on a lot of culture, and then people perform within the parameters of the culture. When somebody steps out of line of the culture, then you have a space to go back to and go, hey, but that really doesn't line up with the culture of how we behave or how we interact with each other in this space. So either rein it back in and and work within the culture of how we all work together, or go find a culture where your behavior fits. And I think that there creates strength. But if you've got, and I won't say if you've got a space with no culture, because every space has got a culture. It's just some of them just don't look like it at all. But that is within itself a culture. So, and I think that makes it easier for us to, instead of going, but rule number 1A says that if you do this, the consequences are this. No, forget the rules for a second. Focus on the culture, build a strong culture, and people will naturally work through that culture, become part of that culture. And if they're stepping out of line, it's just very easy to say, we just don't do that here. Our culture is this. And make sure your culture is recorded. Not just go, oh, we've got culture. What is it?
Like the values.
What is it?
Must be on the walls.
What are the values of that culture? How do we perform in that space? What do we stick to? What do we govern by?
Mo, I have to say, I have two variations of the closed door, open door policy controversy that work very well for me. Because, like, I always tell people, ask me anytime. I am here for you. Some of all knows I don't answer my phone for that reason. Because the reality is, like, in like Unicornville, yes, where I have nothing to do. Yeah, we'll chat the whole day. Ask me everything the whole day. But in like real life, like, I'm often so busy. Like, I don't like. So anyway, so I have figured out I do have an open door policy. People can talk to Peter anytime. It's working very well. I suggest you try it. Also, the other variation of the closed door, open door policy that works very well is you close that door so tight. You shut down the windows, you like hide in your corner, and you only open it far enough so that Summerville can get in. And then you make her stand in the door and deal with everything else.
Oh, that's the nice thing about having our culture, is that not everybody is just coming to us. It's not like we've had to sit and go, hey, we have an open door policy and everybody needs to come to us.
That's one of the first things Peter eliminated.
Because we have a culture where everybody's building relationships with each other. A lot of the times before something even sits in front of us, it's already been dealt with by others. Because somebody will go to somebody else and be like, I can't believe I'm supposed to do da. And that person will be like, well, actually, that's kind of how we do things in this space. So I do it like that. Oh, you do? Okay. So it isn't an issue? Oh, it isn't an issue. It really isn't an issue. And if something is an issue, it's not generally dealt with by just us. And that's the nice thing about community as well. If the community is working within that culture and the value system that's put in place. And a lot of the time, people will go, well, oh, I can't believe this. Well, actually, it's in our values. Or they will want to react a particular way. And by the time it gets to us, it's like, there was an issue. There isn't anymore.
That is really great.
I think maybe once, and some of you will remember this, somebody wanted to do something that didn't fall within the line of our values, and her response was, okay, well, I'm not telling Peter, you go tell him. And they were like, no, it's okay, problem solved. We'll fix it.
Richie, Hendrik, did you guys want to come into the conversation, or are you guys just here to be the arm candy today? I'm just shaking. Because we're polite in this space.
That's a good one.
No, I'm just here also just to keep Ritchie company, and don't want to bore you with all my terrible experiences of hiring and firing. So I'd rather just listen and learn from you.
Thanks, Hendrik.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I've just been listening. I got some sound bites. Sorry, I was a bit late joining in, but yeah, the topic about culture is very interesting. In my case, I look at it more as culture. I think, yes, is key, but it's not something that is found ready-made. I guess it's something that we have to foster, and I like what I think everybody's pointing out. I think, Peter, you did allude to that. I think Mo as well talked about that space, but it's about having those guardrails, I think, in place. Otherwise, you go haywire in trying to maintain that. Yes, it's not ready-made. You have to foster that. But at the same time, I think you have to consistently sensitize people on what those values are. Otherwise, you lose track. So it's something that has to be constant, almost like having a shower, right? You just don't do it once and that's it. You almost have to constantly do it. And yeah. So yeah, I think that's just my 2 cents on that. But I think it's very, very key, I think, for be it organizations, I think, in just even just sort of like what you've got here, what you've actually created, Peter and Nestene, that you have those pretty much ground rules and those boundaries and those guardrails, which is good. It gives the people, yes, the freedom, right, to express themselves, but at the same time, yes, there is lines that are drawn, so everybody knows that. Yeah, so I think that's my 2 cents just on that.
Nice.
Thank you, Ritchie. And you have to tell us who you are.
Oh, right. Oh, great. I'm Ritchie. I help over 30s achieve efficiently physical and financial confidence.
Nice.
Epic!
Nice.
Thank you so much, Ritchie. It's so good to see
problem.
you here.
That actually reminds me that if you have a culture that is so strong, the people that are working or functioning within that culture will actually protect it more than you will. If you do what Ritchie is actually suggesting, where it is not like, which is why I stink, because
That's such a cool analogy.
only because that showering once that he brought to the
You
table.
never knew.
I never knew. I
It's a
thought
revelation.
I thought one and done. So, but that constant reminder, or that constant functioning within that space of that culture, if it is strong enough, the people in it will protect it. And you're not the
Peter, that's because the mission and the movement then becomes bigger than you and those who were there in the beginning. Like the mission, and this is what people often don't understand, like the mission is actually bigger than you. So anybody else can take the baton from you, but because the mission is bigger than you. So like to hear you say that, those are words of a true leader, because most leaders don't understand that like the mission is bigger than you, fam. That like the rest of us are here to take the baton from you, and it might not be anybody in this room or anybody in your generation, but it might be our kids, our nieces and nephews. But the mission is bigger than us, right? So I love you saying that. I had to interrupt you because you struck a chord, like, because a lot of people don't get that the mission will outlive you. The vision and the movement will outlive you. But that's a good thing. Don't be afraid of that. It's a good thing. As long as you build something that can actually outlive you, that will continue, because the mission is actually bigger than the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, even when we started, I wanted to start the space where...
Yeah, you've been saying that from the beginning, and I've kind of just been looking at you like, okay.
I mean, creating a space that's actually not really, at the end of the day, about us. I mean, is it our YouTube channel? Yes. Does it have to be me? No. Does it have to be my content? No. We're a community. It's a communal YouTube channel. Does it have to be my face? A speaking opportunity. Does it have to be me? No, we have speakers. You know, why does it have to be me? They function within my culture. I can send them to represent Explore ProTech because they function within our culture. Do I have to be the one speaking at opportunity? No, I don't. Do I have to be the host of a show? No, I really don't. Do I have to be the one that gets all the opportunities and everybody else just... Does everybody have to buy my book or Nestene's book? Or no.
Mainly because we wouldn't have written
No,
it
because I'm
ourselves.
dyslexic and you'd never be able to read it properly. And I think it's those differences. And I wanted to create a space where at the end of the day, if I'm not around, it still continues and it still grows based on its culture, not me, not Nestene. So, you know, if I decide to go on a 3-month bike ride
with Carolyn
to drive through the country, just letting you know, that the space will just continue.
Yeah. Hendrik, by
Some
the
of us would
way,
follow you, by the way. Some of us would follow you, so that I'm just going to put that out there.
With YouTube cameras. Hendrik, by the way, I have so many horror stories in hiring and firing. That is why Peter built this space. Because I've never successfully been able to manage any team or any type of people or human being outside of this space. But I almost did bankrupt myself twice. I insourced, undersourced, oversourced, insourced, like every single source. I had all the contracts in place. It just didn't work because I couldn't get the culture thing right.
Well, I mean, it's not to say that we've built something perfect. Have we built teams in this space that didn't work? Yeah. Sales team. It's one of the most difficult things to build. Have we built things in this space that didn't work? Yes. Did it stop us from our mission as a community? Hell no. Just find a different way to do the same thing. And that's strong culture to me.
Guys, this has been the Coffee Shop Conversation Show. The arm candy down there is called Hendrik Baird. He is from Faith Media, the podcast people. They make podcasts. You have all been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here, for allowing us to get to know you, for sharing your advice and your thoughts. I think it's a magical space whenever entrepreneurs come together like this and they just actually speak from the heart, without the pretenses, without the trying to shove shit down your throat.
Which apparently doesn't taste really good.
It's just epic knowledge share. You guys are amazing. We love you to the moon and back. We'll be here again every week for the rest of our lives, probably.
No, just a reminder that next week our topic is going to be about community, and probably introducing some of the new faces that we'll be hosting as we move forward. So, will I still be there? Yes, I will still be there. Does it have to be about me? No, not really. I think that Sandra and James, you guys will be in great hands, and I'll always have an opinion. So this is a great place to voice that opinion. But
until then, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and definitely show up next week so you can watch this whole shift in Coffee Shop Show history that's going to take place live online. It's going to happen live because why not live?
Why not?
Everything else happens live. So you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Until we see you again next week, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true.
Just want to